Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest for today. What's today's date? The 6th. All right, let's do this. Get over a little bit. And here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 241 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Hope you're having a great week. We are recording today's show on Sunday, April 6th, 2025. In case you're checking the show out down the line, hope you're having a great time wherever you're checking the show out, whenever you're checking the show out. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman. You can check me out on all the socials at Be Our Guest Mike, but the best place to find me is over in the Be Our Guest Podcast Clubhouse. You can find that free for everybody. It's at beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. It's our Discord server, which is basically like a live 24/7 chat room that is going on all the time, kind of like a message board where you can interact with tons of other Disney fans, other listeners of the show. And we just have a good time talking sports in real time, talking Disney news in real time. If you have a question about an upcoming cruise, an upcoming Disneyland, Walt Disney World trip, Alani, if you're a new DVC member, we have the Welcome Home channel. It's got something for everybody. But you guys, most of you guys, the patrons are there. So I appreciate you guys being there. And it's a way for us to just kind of informally hang out between shows. And I like it. It's like a little cheers, like a little corner pub. So thanks for being there. If you're not there, where you been? Get over there. We want to see you over there. So come on over to beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. But happy Sunday if you're checking this out on the day the show drops. But I hope you're having a great weekend. And just hope you're doing well. So it is the weekend. Halfway through the weekend and just dropping in with Mike in the Midwest as we do to share some stories and catch up once a week as we try to do here on the show. A little bonus for our Patreon supporters. Thank you as always for allowing us to do the big show. This is just a little thank you. I know you're not paying for this show. This is just something I try to throw in to say thank you very much for allowing us to put out the Be Our Guest podcast, not this show, but the big show. Hope you're enjoying those shows. I'll give you a preview of what we're doing for I'm excited because this one was inspired by the Be Our Guest Podcast Clubhouse. Somebody mentioned this about 2 or 3 weeks ago from I'm not a huge golf fan. I'm a sports fan, but I know we have tons of like uber golf fans in our audience. And one of the things that the Masters is happening this next weekend, right? Down in Augusta National, down in Georgia. And I know Corey, one of our listeners, I think I don't know if he works down there, but he's down there. He's taking pictures in the clubhouse on the sports channel, and he'll be there. And, I even get into watching the Masters on TV just because of the beauty that they do, like almost like binaural audio. You can hear like the birds chirping and everything. It's amazing. And it's gorgeous. And the golfing is amazing. So I even watch that as a very casual golf fan, but one of the things they have is this returning champions dinner where the champion for the previous year sets the menu, and then all the previous champions are invited to this big dinner, and they come in and they have this dinner. Everybody has green jackets, gets to come and have this dinner. This is how I believe it goes. And that champion from the previous year sets the menu. And I guess it can be anything that person wants. And so I believe this blue collar guy set the menu, and I'm like, dude, I saw his menu and I'm like, rock on. This guy is just like me, because it was very kind of blue collar food like I would like to get. So what we're going to do for Friday's podcast, which we're going to record tomorrow. Obviously we record the Wednesday and the Friday shows together on Monday afternoons at around 5:30 Eastern. If you want to drop in and be a part of all this mayhem, we're going to record a show where, and I'm going to try to get Scott to join, Pam and Ricky, so we can have all four of us. We'll see if he can make it. Because I mean, he's a huge golf guy, and so this would be perfect for him. He's a golf / foodie, so this would be like right up his alley. But we're going to set our champions dinner, our Masters champions dinner, but it's got to be from Walt Disney World menus. So what it is, you got to have an appetizer, a couple of entrees, and a couple of desserts, but we'd have to each go through and pick our appetizer from a Walt Disney World location, a couple of entrees from a couple of Walt Disney World locations, and our dessert from a Walt Disney World location. Could be from any restaurant, but we'd set our ultimate champions dinner from around Walt Disney World. I think it'd be a fun exercise. And I think some people did that in the back in the clubhouse about 3 or 4 weeks ago when that I think it was Scotty Scheffler put his menu out. So we'll see how that goes. It'd be a fun exercise. Maybe you could do that, do that with your family this weekend. Like, what would you pick? I mean, buttermilk chicken might be one of my I love the buttermilk chicken at Olivia's. That could be my champions dinner, one of my entrees. I think they picked 2 entrees. I want to say I'll when we do the show, I'll read what his how it works from his menu, and then we'll use that for the template for ours. But that'll be kind of a preview of what we're going to try to do on Friday. So just a little heads up on that. So anyway, hope you're doing well. And that's kind of what's going on around here this weekend. It's been chilly in Missouri and super, super rainy. I know that it's not just exclusively here in Missouri. I know that I saw extensive flooding down in Tennessee, down in Arkansas. They had terrible tornadoes. I know that I was checking in with Dr. Kai, and he's one of our friends down by Jonesboro, Arkansas. Fortunately, when I checked in with him, he was down seeing Ella down in Florida. He's like, I'm at Yacht Club. I'm checking out the Easter eggs. Like, oh, thank goodness. But I was worried about his house and his, safety and all that, because I'd seen on the news that it just passed through. I was recording a podcast when it happened. And I know we have a ton of friends in the Mid-South and the, southern states. And, this time of year, as I hear a bunch of sirens outside the window, it is one of those things that, it's inevitable that you're going to have tornadoes, you're going to have flooding, you have severe weather, but as the podcast grows and as the relationships expand, it's inevitable, right? Like I hear these town names and I see town names of folks that I know live in those towns. And so it just, I just want everybody to be safe. Hope you're doing well. We did have flooding here around where we live because it just rained and just would not stop raining. It is this front like stayed right over us. And, you guys probably heard about like the training of the rain, like this. It wasn't super storming. It was just heavy rain that just kept coming right over over St. Louis in the suburbs. And just like, it was, just like the ground was, soaked. It was just saturated and there was nowhere for the water to go. Well, this weekend was Mallory's prom. And, this, is it not early for prom too? I mean, it's the first weekend of April. This is just kind of an aside. Like when we were in high school, and we're going to talk about some prom memories from like the 90s when I went to prom and stuff. And we've been talking about my wife and I, but like we used to have prom like right at the end of the school year. We got out at the end of May and it was like always like the middle of May. It was prom. Like they just had prom last night. Anyway, so they had prom last night, but it was raining. And they have their prom at this country club called Old Hickory. And you got to take this winding road to get into the country club that's got a it's a country club, right? So you got to go past the golf holes and it's got, kind of creeks on both sides. It's really pretty. I mean, it's got trees and stuff on each side. I mean, it's beautiful to go through. But the problem is when it's been raining for like 3 or 4 days, like hard rain, it was underwater. I mean, we saw pictures of it because you couldn't get back there. And so what happened was her prom was at the country club on last night on Saturday night. Well, the sister high school, Francis Hall North, had their prom on Friday night. And so Friday night, Francis Hall North's prom got canceled 15 minutes before the dance. These kids were all out at getting their pictures taken. Now they all had to find indoor places to get their pictures taken, right? Because everybody plans on getting their pictures taken like at the park or at these beautiful places outside by lakes and stuff, because you think it's going to be nice out. No, it was pouring, so everybody had to go to I saw a lot of kids. We have like a casino kind of by us, like on the river. So a lot of people go to the casino because they have big fountains in the lobby, that like the kind of like the Bellagio. It's not like the Bellagio, it's St. Louis. Yeah. It's not that scale. But I mean, it's kind of pretty in the fountains in the lobby. So people go to the casino, they're finding like hotel lobbies and stuff to get pictures made and so forth. You make do. So all these, kids are in there, also kids don't wear tuxedos anymore. That's another thing I want to talk about. But they're in, they're dialed up. The girls are all gorgeous and they're, bajillion-dollar dresses and they're spray tans and bedazzled, but the guys are all in their suits and stuff looking tough. And they're all getting ready to go to prom. Boom. 15 minutes before prom. Boom, a text goes out, canceled. And you can't blame them, but what happened was the police had to close the road because it was impassable. There was no possible way to get to the country club because the road went underwater because of the creek. The creek rose and nobody could get in or out. And we saw pictures and there was no way. You could have, unless you had a boat, you were not getting back to the country club, where the dance was going to be held, to the clubhouse. So here we are on Saturday, right? Okay, so now if you don't have a girl, you might not understand how this works. So, and I had no idea because I was a guy, right? So when I went to prom back in the day, you just got a tuxedo and threw it on, and maybe you took a shower, threw on a tuxedo, and boom, you were going to get picked up the corsage at Schnucks at the grocery store, and threw it in the fridge, and then you just picked it up, and there was a little bit more to. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it wasn't all this involved. Nope. So all day Saturday, it's a deal, right? Homecoming's a deal, but this is a real deal. Like Mallory had already gotten a spray tan because they got to get tans because it's early in the year. They got to all look good for their pictures. This is what all the girls do. They have a friend who owns one of the moms owns a spray tan business in town, so I'll get sprayed because they're cheerleaders. They get these for the competitions too. She'd had her hair done earlier in the week. She had to go get her hair curled. She had it colored earlier in the week. She had to get it curled. And then, she'd had her nails done earlier. And then, she has a super nice dress, which the dress is fine because she could wear it if it got rescheduled or whatever. That's not going away. But so all day, it's still raining on Saturday morning. Like it's still raining. So I'm like, okay, so that creek hasn't probably gone down and we'd seen pictures of it Friday night, right? It's underwater. Like, it's on social media. Like people are texting around. And I'm just, they texted us at like 7:30 in the morning from the school district. Like, we'll keep you up to date. We'll let you know as soon as possible if Francis House prom is canceled. We're like, oh God, here we go. Because the thing is, girls are fragile on a good day, but on the day of their prom, when they have to get all dialed up and their hair's up and they're, in these formal dresses and they're, a group of 30 of them all going out together. And oh my gosh, it's stressful. So I'm just kind of trying to stay clear, let her do her thing, get all dialed up. So it's like 2 PM. Like we're getting pictures at 3:30, and like they had to come up with alternate plans because they were going to get this, get in a park and all this. Nope. They had to find an inside venue. Fortunately, one of her friends' grandparents had this gigantic house they called the mansion. If you saw it on the Discord, you know why. It was big. That was great. So they got the pictures out there, but fortunately, it worked out. It stopped raining at about 2:00 in the afternoon. When they were getting their pictures taken at about 4:00, the text came through, we're going to have prom. And they got to have prom, and she's still not home because they all spent the night at her friend's house after prom. She's still not back, but she's checked in and everybody had a good time. And the creeks went down, I guess, and they had a good time. So it was just one of those things that it was like the most stressful lead up to that, but they got to get dressed up. They all looked beautiful. All Paige, Mallory and her friends were all having a good time and getting their pictures made. Cause we don't see them off to prom. We saw them off to get the pictures at that house. And then we bugged out and went to dinner, and they all got in their cars and drove off to prom together. And, actually they went to a pre-party at somebody's house and then went to prom, but it happened. And that was one of those things as a parent, you just want them to have the experiences that they're looking forward to. You don't want the disappointment. And here's the good news though, too. Last night when we were at home, because Pam and I went to dinner and then came home and watched the basketball games. We found out that they've already rescheduled the prom for Francis Hall North for the kids that missed it on Friday night. They get to have their prom in 2 weeks at the same venue. Now, of course, that's not ideal because some kids might have to work that night. Some kids have sporting events that night, but they're rescheduling as much as they can. And what they did, I like this principal came up with an idea. He wrote a letter, and this is really cool because he said, we're trying to give this experience to every kid because every kid deserves to have prom. And we're so sorry that they didn't get to have it at the original date. We couldn't help. I mean, there's no way they could have helped it. The road was underwater. There was no way they could have had it. There was no way to get to the clubhouse. So he wrote a letter and he to the vendors in our community and said, please, this might not be possible, but if you could extend some grace, please work with these students to maybe cut them a break if they have to get their hair done a second time, if they have to get a spray tan a second time, if they have to rent a tuxedo a second time, whatever the service is that they have to do a second time. If you could extend some grace under these circumstances, it would be wonderful. I thought, that's really cool for a principal to go that far. And also that they did it this quickly, that within 24 hours, they had it all rescheduled. And that the principal reached out to these now small businesses. I think it should be reciprocal. I think that they should absolutely work with these kids because remember, these kids and their families are going to live in our community. What's maybe one more free spray tan, one more free tuxedo rental? That grace you're going to give that family, you're going to probably get that 5 times back because that community is going to be that family is going to be in the community, and that goodwill that you're going to get on social media. Oh my gosh. That's a chance for a win-win-win because that kid, it wasn't their fault. It was nobody's fault. And, it's a chance to turn a bad situation into a good situation. And the principal's kind of, got the ball rolling. So I like that. He's trying to take a tough spot and trying to just do the best he can with it. So I appreciate that. And that's coming from a rival high school. That's coming from Francis L. North, not ours. So that's where we are. And so, prom, one more thing, check. Junior prom, done. And I, again, just bursting at the seams. I'm always just so proud to be a girl dad. You know what? Like, I saw everybody running down this weekend down at Walt Disney World, Springtime Surprise. I'm a runner. I love the race weekends. I missed you guys down there. Would I have loved to have been running those races, the 5, the 10, and the 10 miler? Absolutely. I mean, did part of me like, wish I could have run those races? You know me. I'm super competitive and I miss my friends 100%. I would have loved to have been there. But number one in my book is to be a good dad. And I would not have missed that picture that I got with Mallory for $1 million. Never. It's just that's number one is be a dad first, and there'll be other races. But I'm so glad I got to see on social media all the smiles, all the medal pictures, all the camaraderie, seeing Abby and her mom running together and just all the lizards running together. It makes me happy. Just seeing our team rally. And I'm just proud of you guys from a distance. I wish I could have been there to high five and everybody, but I'm super proud of you from a distance, but had to be a dad first. All right. So let's get the feedback from last week's show. I was talking about that kind of corner of 270 and Newhouse Ferry Road, the miracle strip of my childhood with Showbiz, Children's Palace, Target. What did it have? Happy Joe's. It had Shoney's. I mean, it was the jam. I loved it back in the day. Audra said, I love the memories you brought back of the old school toy stores in this episode. I remember walking into Toys R Us and it was mind boggling to a kid. The shelves were stocked from the floor to the ceiling with every kind of toy you could want. I always headed towards the Polly Pockets. Oh my gosh, Polly Pockets. I got to stop there. Paige had Polly Pockets, and those things, she would leave them on the floor and I would step on them and they would kill. It was like Legos, but girl Legos. Oh my gosh, it would hurt my feet. If that's what I'm recalling, if you're little bitty pieces. Oh, anyway, back to Audra. I remember my uncle was watching All Us Cousins once, and he took us to Toys R Us, and he told us we each had $10 to spend on anything we wanted, and I thought I'd won the lottery. Looking back, it was pretty smart of him because it probably took us hours to find what we wanted, and he got to go out. He got to go out for under $100. Good times. You know what? Shout out to your uncle, smartest guy ever. I mean, that's great too because, I mean, and that's a great move by an uncle, right? Uncle always wants to be cool, uncle, and I mean that's a great move. Like you're never gonna top that. And yes, that's a great move. I love it. Your uncle's awesome. Thank you, Otter, for sharing that memory. Dennis, I gotta tell Dennis. I was just thinking of Dennis. I just took Riley out to take her morning restroom break just about right before I recorded the show. I turned the corner to go out to the lake where my diva dog only uses the restroom, and somebody is smoking meats on a Sunday morning. And I thought, oh, I mean, it smelled so good. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find a grill like smoking anywhere, but somebody is. And I mean, it smells awesome. First person I thought of, Dennis. Okay. Dennis says, my version of that strip mall was located on Clarkson Road in Chesterfield, Missouri. Okay. See, Dennis is from St. Louis, right? I ate dinner right by Clarkson Road last night, so I know exactly where he's talking about. At one end, it had a 6-screen Warenberg theater. Watch movies there. I remember when it opened, it was state of the art at that time with a great surround sound and extra comfortable seats. It also had a small but great arcade. After watching a movie and playing a few video games, you could walk next door to Toys R Us and look at the floor-to-ceiling displays of all the great toys. Beyond the store was a hobby store, and it had an incredible selection of model kits and model rockets. Unfortunately, all those things are gone now, but I always get a good look at the shopping center when I drive by and I visit St. Louis. Dennis, I'm sure you know this, but get ready. I'm going to break some bad news. Chesterfield Mall is absolutely gone now. They just, this past couple of weeks, have finished knocking it totally down. I know even the Cheesecake Factory part is gone. They're putting something else up there. Yeah, I know it's sad. It was standing, but not really a mall the last couple of years. But Chesterfield Mall itself is, I believe, all gone. Yeah, they're putting, I think, mixed use there. It's so sad. I used to love going to Chesterfield Mall. Yeah, that was one of the last good malls. And Tricia says, back after a 3,000-mile round road trip, catching up on the podcast and have a few thoughts from the past couple of weeks. First, the same thing happened to my childhood soccer field. We were in Brown Deer, where I grew up for my daughter's swim meet, and I thought it would be fun to drive her past my old house and places I frequented. Sadly, Brown Deer has taken a churn. My old house is in disrepair. The soccer field was replaced by an industrial park, and even the Hostess outlet is gone. We would ride there every day of the summer for a snack. See, it makes me sad. That's just, I hate hearing these kind of things. A unique birthday party location for me was Discovery Zone. They had the party rooms and pizza, but no animatronics. It did have a massive 4-story play structure and large arcade. I remember my cousin playing Hungry Hungry Hippos until she built up blisters on her fingers. Okay, I remember that. Yeah, because I think I've got blisters playing it like that one time. My aunt and uncle were concerned when they picked her up with heavily bandaged fingers. So now, okay, I remember taking Paige when she was real little with Pam to a place. God, it might have been Discovery Zone, but what was it? I don't think it was called Discovery Zone, but the whole place was, it reminded me. Now, okay, here's another memory. When I was little, or when I was like maybe 7 or 8, like there was a big deal, or maybe I was younger. I was like first or second grade. Like everybody wanted to have a hamster. Like that was a big deal. Maybe it was just my circle of friends, but everyone wanted to have a hamster. And like you would get your hamster, and if you were like a baller, you had this thing called a habit trail. You didn't want to get an aquarium. Like if you were a poor person with a hamster, you put your hamster in an aquarium. But if you're a baller, you put your hamster in like a thing called a habit trail, which was kind of like a space station, and it had tubes, and it was like modular, and you could like tack on like a wheel, and you could put tubes in between like different cages, and you could just, it was like expandable. I always wanted to have like the ultimate habit trail cage, but I had a hamster with like an aquarium. It was weak, but I had a hamster. Anyway, where was I going with? Oh, Discovery Zone. We took Paige's place, and it's out kind of by where we live now, which was far away from where we used to live, out on Mid Rivers Mall Drive. But she had a party at a place, and I swear it was like an indoor jungle gym place. But I swear the whole place looked like a habit trail for kids. It was like a bunch of tubes and slides, but the kids were always crawling through all these tubes, but it went up like 3 or 4 stories and like slides and like ball pits. But I no kidding, like, it was a bunch of tubes, though. It looked just like a kid habit trail set, like the hamsters used to crawl through, and, like, once they went in, you couldn't find them. Like, no kidding. We're like, "Where's Paige?" Dude, I have no idea because you could crawl all over this place. I mean, the tubes went, like, all around. I mean, it was gigantic, and good luck finding your kid. It was nuts. So, great memory there, and I can't maybe it was called Kid Zone or, maybe it was Discovery Zone. That's a good memory, though. That's why I love these shows. Tons of memories. Kinda goes both ways. Okay, so prom memories from when I went to prom, back in the day. I kinda gave you some of Mallory's. They had prom last night. You saw the pictures all dolled up. Guys don't wear tuxedos anymore, apparently. They just wear kinda shirt, tie, kinda cat yeah, it's not I mean, it's dressy, but back in the day, there were some we did things a little bit differently. I don't know how you did it in your high school. Our prom was always at a hotel, like the dance was at a hotel. We had a in St. Louis, I don't know if Dennis could relate. Our prom was at what's called the Henry VIII Hotel, which is no longer there. If you ever fly into St. Louis, you land on top of Henry VIII Hotel because it is the big new runway. They knocked down the Henry VIII Hotel and put a runway there. It's the new runway, but that was the great. I love that hotel. It looked very I mean, it was a cool looking hotel. So we always had our hotel there for Hazelwood Central. Um, the memories I have from our prom is we always went in a group. I had a group of like 3 buddies. It was Corey, Fred, and Ray. And we had the same girlfriends. So I went with Carmen both years, junior and senior year, and she was a cheerleader and like so I mean, we had the same thing. So the one year, like our school colors were black and gold. And so I remember the one year she got this gold dress. I mean, it was like golden, I think it's junior prom, like golden, like shiny or whatever. And so the whole thing is you have to, and still, I guess the deal was you had to match because Mallory matched her date. But like since she got her dress, boom, like we all the guys though back in the day it was super simple, right? You just rent a tux for prom. You rent a tux. So you went to the mall and you just went to the tux store, which was like right across from Walgreens in the mall at ours at Jamestown Mall. And you just told them you needed a tux, and they had like a couple different kinds. You get tails, you get whatever. And so we'd screw around and be like, yeah, let's get tails. Some people go all in and get like a top hat and like it's like a stick, like a cane. We didn't do that much. We got tails one time. So you get now you could get like, get a cummerbund and a bow tie, or you could get a vest. I mean, you could change it up a little bit. So I think one year we got like the cummerbund and the tie. One time we got the vest. But the whole deal was, and your girl came with you to make sure, because I mean, she was in charge of like what you had to look like, right? So but it had to be the exact same color of her dress, right? So she'd bring like a swatch or something so you match. So you'd always have to be the same color, so you were in sync. So that was one thing you had to have. But guys wore tux back then. Everybody had a tux. The other thing was junior and senior prom, we rented a limo. Like we didn't drive ourselves. Like Mallory drove her car to the pre-party, and then I don't know, they rode together in somebody else's car to prom, but she left her car at her friend's house. But I mean, like they drove each other. Like we pooled our money, the 4 dudes, because we all had jobs. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. Like I worked at the skating rink and I worked at Chick-fil-A, and like, we all had these, minimum wage jobs of high school when we weren't playing sports, but we had enough that we rented a limo for 3 hours, 3-hour minimum. So that's all we did was 3 hours, but we rented a limo. And so we got the limo to come pick us up. We all met at Corey's house. So because Corey and I lived in the same subdivision. So did Fred. Actually, so did Ray. We all lived in the same subdivision now. Think about it. So we all met at Corey's house. The limo came there. Then we went around and picked up our girls. And then we had to kill 3 hours. So at the end of the 3 hours, it dropped us off at the dance. And then what we did was that afternoon, we all left our cars at the hotel. So that after the dance, we all had our cars. We could drive home from the hotel. But like we just drive around St. Louis for the 3 hours before the dance, get food, eat the food in the limo, drive around, see people, and just have a good time. Blast music. I remember like we made a mixtape to play. I still remember some of the songs on the mixtape too, like Enigma, that Sadness Part One song, some Depeche Mode. I don't know, we were weird, but that was one of the things. And another thing was you always had to get the corsage, right? You had to go to the grocery store. That's where we got ours because that's just where everybody got them in our town. I don't know why we didn't go to a real florist, but everybody got them at Schnucks. And it had to, again, it had to match the girl's dress. Like, what color is it? One year it was gold, it had to have a little gold in the band. The flower wasn't gold, but the band has gold in it. And then, like, one year her dress was blue. And, that was super important. Then, of course, you had to get the pictures. Oh my gosh, you had to get the pictures with the limo. You had to get the pictures in the house. You had to then we went to a park and got pictures. I mean, there was pictures like 3 different times. And of course, there was a picture at the prom because there was a backdrop that went with the theme. It was all that. And then, of course, the dance itself, right? Once you got there, you hung out with like all your, you had your, like, we had the group of the 8 of us because it was, myself and my 3 buds and then our dates. So it was 8 of us, get to the dance, and it was at the hotel in the big ballroom. And I went to a pretty big high school. So it was probably about, 500-600 people at the dance. And we always had a DJ that we had a really good DJ. Cause I mean, my family owned a DJ company, right? So this is what we did. But the deal was we were never, I told my dad, our company was not going to DJ any dances at our high school when I was in high school. That was not happening. Not now. I ended up DJing the proms later after I graduated, but no way. So the other DJ company that I knew was like the best DJ company, I loved them. They're called TKO DJs. They DJ and they're still a business in St. Louis even today. They did the prom and it was awesome. Like they came in with all these laser lights and fog machines and it was unreal. Really good DJs. And we danced it up and had a good time. The thing is, like what I've seen and what Mallory says, like the kids don't like stay to prom. The prom, I think, ended for Howell last night at like 9 o'clock. As I recall, like our prom went to like 10:30. Like it went pretty late. And then, we just went back to Corey's house and hung out and had fun there after the prom. But it just seems like prom was more formal. I don't even know if I want to say more formal. Like, I mean, we did wear tuxedos as guys, but like the girls couldn't be more formal than like what they were for prom last night because like, I was telling Pam, like, Mallory got up yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning. All the girls met, they made their own little bouquets. It was almost like a wedding. Like they have these really formal dresses the girls did last night. So the girls, it's super formal. The guys, it's like a lot more casual than it was in the 90s, but it is a different feel. The dance, I don't think is important. I think that the parties before and after for today is more important. I think the dance was more important in the 90s, but I don't know. Maybe you have experience with that. Maybe what are your big memories from proms past? I'd love to hear them because we are definitely in prom season. And what because your kids are probably getting ready to go to prom this season. So what are you guys getting ready to experience yourself? So let me know and let's talk about it in the weeks to come. Patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. We'll have a live show tonight. Hope you can join us. Scott's going to be back. We could talk some Alani because he just spent what felt like a month out in Hawaii, which was awesome. And he was definitely living his best life out there. We could talk about all the news that's been happening with Walt Disney World as well tonight and just have a good time. So until we talk again, I hope you have a great Sunday. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Happy birthday, Margie. Happy birthday.